Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and Kuzith, and Scott, and Harry, and Brian. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully, those of you in the U.S. or North America, there's some people who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, right? I'm aware of this. Y'all aren't thankful enough. You need a day. Instead, we could just be thankful all year. But instead, how ironic is it? I know this reference has been made many times in the past, but how ironic is it to you that we have a day for being thankful and grateful for what we have that is instantly, no question, immediately followed up by a day where we buy as much crap as we possibly can, right? Because that's what Black Friday's about. It's about finding your deals, finding your sales, and we always surpass it right after the thankful day. Like, of all days, I get that it's like holiday season and all that, but we're so why do they have to be so close to each other? It'd be one thing if we just had a day of thankfulness and a day of sales and buy now, this is on sale, buy it today. But we had to put them right next to each other. Could we just swap Thanksgiving and Easter or something like that, you know? Could we put Easter where Thanksgiving is and Thanksgiving where Easter is? Then it would be a little less ironic. Yeah, people be like, I'm thankful for the stuff I'm going to buy tomorrow. that sums it up pretty much. Yeah, that's how it works. Let's see. USA is the only place that does it. Maybe Canada. So Canada's maybe. Black Friday isn't a holiday. Changed my mind. No, I'm not going to disagree with you. It is not a holiday. It is a Friday that usually there's some sales on. But you know what I've noticed is there's so many companies and there's so many brands. The one that comes to mind is Amazon has like Prime Day, right? Where they a lot of holidays are made up, to be fair. You know, Mother's Day, I think initially roots back to Hallmark trying to sell cards. They're like, hey, we're going to celebrate Mothers today from now on, and then it just becomes tradition to a certain point. There's a lot of marketing and business behind holidays in the first place, which in that way Christmas is not terribly different from Black Friday in the extent that it's mainly just celebrated by a lot of brands to get people to go out and buy stuff. But Black Friday in particular isn't even trying. Black Friday's not even trying to be discreet about how it's promoting sales and stuff. But so many other companies have promo deals all the time, and they have Cyber Monday, and they have Prime Day, and they have a summer sales event, or they have free AirPods for the summer for college. They have so many different deals throughout the year that Black Friday kind of eliminates all. I don't know. It feels like it takes the oomph out of sales and out of deals and that kind of thing, because so many companies are trying to progressively intentionally have their own sales for their own brands instead of, celebrating all at the same time. And there's like pre-Black Friday sales, and there's like a week before Black Friday sales. Yeah. Oh, Fables has some interesting history on the matter. Let's see what he said. Martin Lewis in the UK did some research, found that only 1% of Black Friday discounts were actually discounts when comparing prices to last week. It's an absolute con. Prime Day is usually decent, and you should always have an idea of a good price for the item before buying it on a deal. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, and that sounds believable. I believe Martin Lewis is probably accurate on that. I'm guessing that a lot of Black Friday deals are not genuine deals. They're just listed with big sale advertising, and that makes people feel like they're getting a good deal. Apple Education Store is lit. I agree. Someone was able to nab, Fables did, I think, got the MacBook Air for £850. Retails £1,000. Good deal. Not bad at all. We're still streaming, in case you guys are curious. This is still all being done on the MacBook Air with the 8-core GPU. So I guess if you got the one with 7-core, it might be slightly worse. But hey, 0 drop frames, 1080 at 60, still doing it. I'm impressed. MacBook Air is amazing. There were some people that wanted me to test the Sims game on it, though, and I'm sorry. I'm not willing to spend money on Sims for that. Anyway, I hate it when companies only do a 5% discount. I mean, it's something. I would rather have 5% or over 0%. Let's see. Tesla or Apple? What kind of question is that? For what exactly? Like, do I have to choose one as better than the other, or do I have to choose one, like if I had to keep one and lose the other? That'd be a more interesting question. Would I rather Tesla or Apple go out of business? The stock? Oh, probably Tesla stock, I'm guessing. They're growing a lot faster than Apple stock is. But Apple's pretty consistent. Anyway, do you think Apple will ever make their own discrete GPUs, or gaming will never, ever be in Apple's interest? That's two different questions. Six packs. Yes, Apple will make their own discrete GPUs, but that does not mean that they care about gaming on the Mac. That's a keen difference here, because Apple is a gaming company, believe it or not. It's just through mobile, and the iOS App Store makes billions and billions of dollars a year, much bigger than probably popular PC gaming companies do, because a lot of people don't really have a firm grasp on the idea that mobile actually generates more revenue in the gaming sector than a lot of desktop and console gaming does. So Apple makes a ton of money off of gaming. It's just not in the Mac department. But Macs have had discrete GPUs for a long time that they just have not, that doesn't make it. Hardware is one aspect of gaming. It's not all of gaming. You can't just have the great hardware and that instantly makes it a gaming machine. It comes down to software. Gaming on the Mac has never been a huge priority for Apple. Maybe in the early days, but definitely not anymore. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think that similar to social networking, platforms get very, very comfortable. People are very, very comfortable with what they're used to. And like just trying to move people off of YouTube to Twitch is tricky in itself. And trying to move people off of Windows to a Mac, even if the Mac hardware was better, is really, really hard to justify. And I think they know that. I think most companies are aware of that. And there's not going to be a giant shift. In my opinion, some people disagree. I don't think there's going to be a giant shift in software development to suddenly make a bunch of games optimized and ready to run on the Mac, because they know that there's not going to be a lot of people playing games on the Mac. So there's not much financial benefit to optimizing for the Mac. So now that there's such an established community of gamers on PC, on Xbox, and PlayStation, they're not really, really interested in switching everything over. So let's see. Yavraz3, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 6 months. Hi, Drew. Haven't seen a stream in a while. Thought you weren't posting, but apparently my new 12 Pro Max just didn't keep my notification setting for Twitch. Good to be back and watching the stream. Dang it, Twitch. Come on. Or dang it, iPhone 12 Pro Max. No wonder you suck. We need to notify people I'm live. Yeah, I will always tweet in case you want another notification method. I always tweet before I go live. That's another way to check if I'm live or not. But yeah, I normally don't stay off Twitch for too long. If it's more than a week, something's wrong. Normally at most it would be like a week or something. Let's see. Quick money tip for people. There must be something similar to people outside the UK. Website called Top Cashbacks. Basically give you cash back for signing up to things like changing your gas, electric, internet providers via the site. Did my multi-car insurance with them today, costing me $3,000 and got £300 cash back. Interesting. Too bad I just bought a watch phone and a Mac and a lot of Black Friday deals on stuff I've wanted. That's not too bad. If you want it and you can afford it, that's great. There's no bad for that. Hopefully they were actual good deals. Where did you buy them through? Did you get gift cards? Apple's Black Friday event has always kind of sucked, in my opinion. It's always just like, buy this older tech and you'll get a gift card. You know how much money companies make off gift cards every year? Because they issue them and then people don't use them. That happens a lot. There's a lot of gift cards that get unaccounted for, and that's why companies do them. So there's really nothing, but there's no loss for a company by issuing gift cards. And the fact that that's the only thing Apple has to offer just kind of makes it, yeah. Anyway, DJ subscribed at a tier 2 for 28 months. DJ, why are you still paying for that? Oh my goodness, thank you. I appreciate it, but my God, it's Yeet Your Wallet Friday. I like that official name for it. Yeet Your Wallet Friday. Let's rebrand it to Yeet Your Wallet Friday. That just rolls off the tongue a little bit better, I think. Let's see. We got the Apple leather sleeves. Did anyone actually buy the leather sleeves? I do not understand the point of that. It's just like a pocket that you put in your pocket. You can't even use the phone while it's in the leather sleeve, right? Like what What is that for? Why do people... If someone in the chat has bought the leather case, leather sleeve for the iPhone, please let me know why you like it, because I do not understand it. Okay. Especially... Okay, that's something else. I mean, I just bought all those Apple products and now I don't have any spending money for the deals going around today on other things I want. Oh, gotcha. So you bought your Apple products, meaning you don't have money for Black Friday sales. Well, that's fine, honestly. Like we established earlier, 1% of Black Friday sales are not even cheaper than normal. Anyway, I have not seen one review on it, and it's been available for a week. Yeah, did a lot of there were a lot of people talking about MagSafe Duo, or people reviewing phone cases for the iPhone 12, but I didn't see anybody review the leather sleeve, huh? Oh my god, that's funny. I bought the MKBHD mask from dbrand. I don't use skins, so that's why. Yeah, I don't use skins either, to be honest with you. I tried them once and I just couldn't get into them. 10 bits from Neum asks, is it true Justine will be on the new podcast episode? No, you completely made that up. Don't act like that's a rumor going around. You made that up out of thin air, Neum. Don't lie. No, she's not going to be on the podcast probably ever, unless she wants. If she was like, can I be on the tech podcast? We'll be like, maybe. We'll think about it. I'll have to consult the guys who run the podcast, because I'm just kind of a guest on there. It's really just Nick and Randy's show that I occasionally pop on. But if they say no, that's it. That's final. I don't have any say on that. Anyway, my M1 MacBook arrived 2 weeks early. Wow. What a incorrect delivery estimate. 2 weeks early? That's a good problem to have. I think Apple in general usually overestimates how long packages are going to take. I'll get her to tweet at you. Oh, she's tweeted me in the past. Don't worry about that. What about the HomePod minis? Do you have any, Drew? No, I've said multiple times I just don't have any need for them, because I have nothing to add on the HomePod minis. My final conclusion to them, in case you want my opinion, let's just pretend for a second. People listening to this on the podcast app, what I'm about to say is totally truthful. People listening to just the audio of this stream and not the video, I have a HomePod mini right here, and I'm going to unbox it. All right? Wow, it's so compact. It's so small. Let me plug it in. Ooh, this makes a good amount of sound. And at $100, I think this is really worth it for the sound quality. You should definitely buy the HomePod mini. No one should buy the OG HomePod. As someone who bought the OG HomePod, I can now agree and admit the HomePod mini is objectively better. You're much better. If you want a little more sound than just a mini, get 2 HomePod minis. If that's not enough sound for you, get 3 HomePod minis, because that would be the same price as a normal HomePod at $300. Cool. Review done. Gonna put it back in the box. Return it now. All right, HomePod mini review concluded. Thank you all for watching and listening. All of those who are watching the video of this, keep it to yourself. Drew has now officially reviewed the HomePod mini. HomePod Air. That's what I just reviewed. Scott has some heavy self-discipline there. He said, my HomePod mini came this week, not opening it until Christmas, though. Dang. That's some next level self-control right there. I could not do that. Matthew says, I've actually seen a leather sleeve review. It's even more disappointing than I thought it would be. It's like that sign someone holds up. Our expectations were low, but holy crap. Matthew says, there's some rumors saying that at the window with show just the time, but it doesn't. It's literally your entire lock screen. You can see it lit up behind the leather, so it doesn't change the behavior of your phone at all. Wait, I thought it displayed the time or something. It doesn't even do that? That's... Yeah, I'm even more confused now that you mentioned that. It doesn't even display the time through the little window. So what's the point of the window? Just to know that the display is on? That's... I don't get it. Apple, I don't get you sometimes. I want MagSafe Duo though. I will not budge on that. I really really want that, especially because of uh how many freaking cables we have by our bed now. See, my wife and I, we just have the one nightstand next to our bed, and her watch, her phone, my watch, and my phone all have to be charged right there. And there's just this mess of cables right next to the bed, and I want to minimize that to as little cables as possible. It does, but it lights up the whole screen, I think. Weird. Fables donated 20 bits. Thank you. With the rumors of Apple going portless next year with the 13 Pros, how sure are you they will do this percentage-wise? Is the rumor that they're on the Pros? I haven't read that anywhere. All I read was that at least one iPhone wouldn't have a port next year. I wouldn't say I'm super certain. I would probably say like 40% likelihood. I won't say it's like highly unlikely because it seems like a lot of leakers and a lot of analysts are suggesting that Apple wants to go portless. But here's the but here. Here's why I won't say 50%. Mainly because Apple is getting a lot of backlash right now for e-waste issues. And I think that's the biggest problem Apple would face if they decided, you know what, we don't need Lightning anymore. We're just going to do wireless charging only. There would be immense backlash of, you don't care about the environment. This makes everybody's Lightning cables useless. And people were already ticked off at the iPhone 12 for not including the charge brick. And on top of that, people were very, very mad that the iPhone 12 shipped with a USB-C to Lightning cable, which a lot of people, I mean, rightfully admitted, most people do not have USB-C bricks. I get that. But my whole argument was the point is to use the charger you already have. And by slimming the packaging, it requires less energy to move them, and they can move more iPhones per delivery container, and they can move more iPhones per delivery truck and shipment. So they can save a lot of money, and they can make a win for the environment by no charge brick. But there were still a lot of people saying that the USB-C to Lightning cables are going to go to waste because not a lot of people have USB-C bricks. I still think the environmental benefits are there, but fair point, fair enough. Yes, I agree that there's going to be a lot of USB-C to Lightning cables that don't get utilized for people who aren't willing to buy the 20-watt brick if they don't want to. But yeah, fair enough. As Tech God Hoops is saying, last year all the leakers were saying 120 hertz was happening. So clearly things don't get finalized until later in the process. And you are exactly right. Apple has not finalized what next year's iPhones are, so it's stupid for us to pretend we know it's going to happen because it's very, very clear they don't know what they're going to do, so we don't know what they're going to do. They don't have to ship more cables and adapters. The point is everybody keeps using the cables they already have. That way, the only cables and adapters they do ship are absolutely necessary. The only shipping of the bricks is for people who absolutely need the bricks instead of shipping millions of bricks that aren't being utilized. So it's still a win. I'm still convinced. No one has pitched to me an argument as to why what Apple did was bad. I'm still very much convinced they did the right thing because, again, you're just, however you charged your last iPhone, you can charge the next iPhone because they still have Lightning. They still have wireless charging. In fact, out of all iPhones ever released, this probably is the most versatile. This can charge in so many ways compared to previous iPhones. You got MagSafe, you got Qi charging, and you got Lightning. So even if you bought the iPhone 5 way back in, when was it, 2012, 2013? Even if you bought it way back in 2012 and you never replaced it, however you were charging your iPhone 5, you can still charge the iPhone 12. So I'm pretty sure Apple's proud of that. They like the idea that they've stuck with Lightning and they've kept with Lightning for a long time. That means you can keep using all of your old accessories. You can keep using your old cables and all your old Lightning docks. They all still work. So that's not a problem with the iPhone 12. Most people's complaints just came with the cable that is included. But now, let's theorize for a second. If there was no Lightning port, now we would have a problem. Now people could make the argument, okay, I can't use my same old cable, so you either have to include, which if they are going to include something with the portless iPhone, it's going to probably be MagSafe. And we know because of the power requirements of MagSafe that it's going to have to be USB-C And then we come back to the issue of, yes, most people don't have USB-C charge bricks, and that would result in more people having to buy the 20-watt bricks in order to charge the phone. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, and I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think that the other main reason I've said in videos numerous times as to why I think it's too early to remove the charge port. Not for me. I would be fine with it, like I brought up in my 12 mini review. If they ditched the lightning port on the 12 mini and gave me a bigger battery, I would gladly use that phone. I have pretty much exclusively wirelessly charged the iPhone 12 series as I've gotten it. Only a handful of times I've used a cable, but not very often. So I could get by, and I'm sure there's plenty of us that could. There's probably a lot of us in the tech community who are used to wireless and who are used to MagSafe, and we would gladly be like, I'm kind of a techie person in general, and I like moving to new standards. Like a lot of people forget I was such a huge big fan of USB-C as soon as it came out. When they announced it for the 2015 12-inch MacBook, I was just like, wait, you're telling me there's one port that can do everything? That's amazing. And it's reversible and it's symmetrical. That's perfect. Like I was like, that's the best port ever. You can do video, you can do data, you can do audio, you can do power, you can do and fast, like high powered charging. You can go up to 100 watts on USB-C. I was like, perfect. I want USB-C on everything. And I'm feeling the same way about MagSafe. Now that MagSafe has come out and I'm using it every night, and I love how simple it is to charge my phone with it and disconnect my phone from it, to the point that I'm like, okay, cool. I want to get all the MagSafe accessories. And if Apple, I know that there would be some backlash for this, but some people would love it. If they did replace Lightning with USB-C, I would be all over that. I'd be like, great, now I can just keep using my USB-C cables, have one port for everything, one cable for everything. I wouldn't be the type of person that's like, oh no, I can't use my lightning cables anymore. I'd be like, great, I'm going to dump all my lightning cables in the ocean. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do it in the ocean. I'd be like, I'm going to dump all these lightning cables at my nearest recycling plant and make sure that the materials in them get sustainably recycled some way. But I don't mind getting rid of old cables and old stuff. But I'm not most people. I know that. I'm in the minority. I don't mind buying new standards and adopting new things. And if Thunderbolt 4 comes out and we have to get used to Thunderbolt 4 cables, as long as they're still Type-C, I'll be fine with them. And I can utilize faster data rates and all that. I would be fine with it, but I fully admit most people aren't like me, and next year is not rumored to be a major year for the iPhone. This year was pretty big. There was a lot of changes brought. The first 5-nanometer chip, new displays across the board. They didn't reuse a single display from last year. Every single display is new. The new chassis is squared off. The 5G, which I hate, but it's still new. The Super Retina XDR being standard across the whole lineup, improved water resistance. It was a huge year, but next year, like usual, if you have a big year, the following year is going to be minor. That always happens. You can't have 2 major years in a row. It never works that way. So I would say, because next year is going to be an S year, might not be branded as an S year, but just feature-wise, it's going to be fairly minor. I think that this year, the regular iPhones, the 12 and 12 mini, those were the big deal. That was where most of the attention went, but the Pros got kind of neglected. They didn't do much with the Pros this year. Next year will be the opposite. The regular 12 and 12 mini won't be that different. 12S and 12S mini. But the 12S Pro and 12S Pro Max, or 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, those will get promotion, which I think people will appreciate. Probably some camera updates here and there. But I still think it's too soon. I still don't think it's a good idea because, again, the e-waste argument will not look good for their brand. And 2, there's not going to be enough USB-C adoption yet. I think that eventually Apple can remove the charge port. I just don't think 2021 is the time to do it. I think they should wait until USB-C is more widely adopted, and then you can start shipping iPhones just with a MagSafe cable in them. But they literally just like just launched this 20-watt brick, and they just launched MagSafe. So to just a year later be like, okay, time for that to be the standard across everything, now I don't think it's a good move. So that's why I say because of those reasons, there's a chance that Apple decides to push off that idea. I think in a few interviews they even mentioned that they thought about making the iPhone 10 portless. So they've wanted to do a portless iPhone for a long time. It's been on the table. It's been up for discussion for many years, as soon as 2017, it sounds like. And here we are years later, and they still haven't done it. So it's very possible we could read all these rumors, hear all these things, that we think is going to happen in 2021, and then they don't do it. It's still totally possible. Anyway, 10 bits from Thrilling Morty says, ordered my first iPhone a few days ago. Hope it gets here soon. Got a 10S renewed. Ooh, 10S renewed. That probably got a good deal on that if it's refurbished. Hopefully you enjoy it. Thanks for the bits. Another 10 bits from Neon says, my cousin and uncle started a local business in town where you can sell your old 5-watt bricks, $5 for 5-watt per brick to them, and receive a USB-C brick per brick, 10 bits. And my cousin and uncle have some distribution deal where the 5-watt brick gets shipped off to be melted down and turned into USB-C bricks, shipped back to their stores where they sell them at in-house and Walmarts and whatnot. Well, that's cool. Good for you guys. Good for them, I should say. 20 bits from Fables. Thoughts on Touch ID returning next year too? Also in those rumors, would you prefer it in the back power button or under glass? I talked about how Touch ID coming back probably makes more sense in the age of the pandemic. Initially I would have said, nah, just ditch Touch ID, Face ID all the way. I do think Face ID is better objectively. It does come down to personal preference, but for me at least, I can confidently tell you I would rather have Face ID on everything and never use Touch ID again. But because we're wearing masks a lot now, I would say the power button. Only reason I say the power button is because I think that doing Touch ID on the side button is pretty affordable, given Apple was willing to do it on the iPad Air, which is cheaper than the iPad Pros. So if they did it in the display, my worry is that it would cost more, and it would also alter the UI quite heavily. I feel like I don't know. I use every day, actually. I use the fingerprint reader built into the display on my OnePlus, and just having to rest your finger right there on the display, and they have to make a little UI animation for it. I don't know. It's just, I think that's more expensive than just putting it on the side button. And I think that Touch ID on the side button would be a better way to make it feel like an extra biometric, but that Face ID is still the dominant one. They would still want you to use Face ID, and that would give it a clear advantage over Touch ID instead of giving someone the option to just use Touch ID and not Face ID. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to, but if you're just asking my personal preference, I would say put it on the side button so you can keep it affordable and remain Face ID as functional in the primary use of unlocking it. But I don't believe any Touch ID on coming back on the iPhone rumors, because those have been around for 5 years now. They've been around forever. The Touch ID is coming back, and then it doesn't. So every year I've heard the same thing. Touch ID on next year's iPhone. Touch ID on next year's iPhone. Touch ID on next year's iPhone. I've heard it so many times, and then it doesn't happen. So I'm going to be highly skeptical of any report just because of how consistently. It's kind of the same thing with the Apple Pencil. There's a bunch of reports every year that say Apple Pencil support coming to the iPhone. Ever since the Apple Pencil existed, there have been rumors and leakers claiming that the next iPhone has Apple Pencil support. And I'm just like, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. 20 bits from Fables. I want both biometrics to stick around and be able to use both for real secure things like banking apps and trading apps, etc. Yeah, options are fine. No reason to hate against options. And I've mentioned in a few videos now that I think bringing back Touch ID to the iPhones would be a good idea, especially at the time of the pandemic. But also just, yeah, I know some people that just don't like Face ID and they would rather have Touch ID. I get that. That's fine. Hopefully those rumors are correct. We'll see. Until what age do you think you'll do this YouTube and Twitch thing? Asks Real Arnav Gupta. Sorry if I butchered that name. How long? What age? I don't know. Right now, I feel like I could do it forever. I mean, I love it. It's fun. I love talking about this type of stuff, and I love forecasting future iPhones. And I'm also now really enjoying talking about Tesla and electric vehicles. And I like this job. I just don't have a lot of faith at how long it can last. I feel like YouTube and copyright law in Google is so sketchy, is so bumpy, that I'm expecting it really to just kind of fall apart at some point. Either some law will come out and make my job impossible, or YouTube will change their policy and make my job impossible, or YouTube will face some massive shutdown or something because of some scandal. I don't know. I'm just going to do it as long as I possibly can, basically. I don't really have an age in mind of like, this is when I'd like to retire by, but I will also acknowledge that people's tastes change over time and people's preferences change over time. And there could be a time in my life where maybe I get bored of this. Maybe I get sick of this and just decide I don't want to do it anymore. I can't imagine that right now. I'm trying to. I try to visualize, like, is there a day where I just decide, you know what, I'm done making videos and I don't want to stream anymore. I'm just going to retire. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like something I would do. It doesn't sound like something I would enjoy. I like being productive and I like making content because I'm able to make videos and put them on the internet and they stay there. So it feels like, my content can last. It's not just short-term content and people can go back and watch it years later. So I feel like I'm going to keep doing this for forever, but things could change. Maybe I'll get older. Maybe I'll, as I approach more middle-aged years and more elderly years, maybe I'll be like, yeah, this is boring. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it as long as I can, basically. If YouTube falls apart, then I'll probably be a full-time Twitch streamer. And if both fall apart, then okay. It was nice knowing you guys. I'll be on Discord. Let's see. Neum says, honestly, going from a 5C to the 12 Pro Max, the battery is amazing, and I exclusively charge my phone with the iPad Pro, so no brick, no problem. Thank God for USB-C to Lightning cables. Sadly, MagSafe doesn't work. Plugged it into the iPad Pro and attached the other end to my iPhone, and it doesn't work for some reason. Yeah, I don't think the iPad Pro can support a high enough wattage for what MagSafe requires. MagSafe is a little power hungry, which is why my idea of shipping MagSafe pucks that just have a lightning port in them so that you can convert your old lightning charger into a MagSafe charger. That doesn't work because most people are probably using the little 5-watt bricks, and the 5-watt brick can't sustain MagSafe. So, yeah. Sly Guy says, I can imagine a 75-year-old Drew still uploading and talking about air power. Yeah, I kind of can too, honestly. Let's see. Unless you're one of like 5 people in the world who have a full-on alphanumeric password to type in every single time you unlock your phone. Do people do that? What kind of psychopaths have the alphanumeric password? How long do you want to take? How much time does that person have in their day? Fables donated 10 bits. I only believe this report due to them putting it on the power button for the air. Yeah, that does encourage the idea now that they're releasing iPads in 2020 that don't have home buttons but do have Touch ID. Now that they're willing to do that, yeah, I think I would agree. It makes it more likely. It makes it more like, okay, now they could do Face ID and Touch ID pretty easily. It wouldn't even have to change the design very much. Face ID and Xcode is in the P list for security setting. Oh, well, that's good. Hopefully Face ID comes to the Macs somewhat soon. I would love that. 10 bits from Fables. When are people going to add Apple Pencil support to the iPod Shuffle? You can, actually. If you take an Apple Pencil, you press the play pause button on a Shuffle, it does work. I just bought my AirPod Pros, but on my left ear doesn't fit flushy. Any suggestions? I was thinking of getting third-party ear tips. Ooh, I haven't tried that myself, but that would be interesting. That's weird that just the left ear doesn't fit. I guess you can try the different sizes it comes with. You've probably already done that, though. Yeah, that's weird. Maybe we have different shaped ears sometimes. Fable says, I think even if you fell out of love with this, you'd still do it as a job for a while. Plenty of people don't adore their job, but it pays well. Who cares? Yeah, I don't see myself doing that. I mean, there are certain days on YouTube and Twitch where I enjoy it less and I'm just like trying to get through it. But fundamentally, as a whole, I really, really enjoy it. Most of the time, it's just like I get to set my own schedule. I get to work how I want, and that's what I love about it. And I wouldn't give that up unless I could replace it with something better somehow. Maybe I just haven't seen what's better. Maybe in the future I'll find a job or a position I enjoy more than this. And it doesn't even have to be like a real job. It could just be like fatherhood or something. If I have a kid one day and just decide I want to devote all my time to my kid and just spend as much time as I can with them, then who knows? Kids change things. That could happen. So now everyone in the chat's going to cross their fingers and hope Drew never has kids. But even then, I don't think that would happen. I think even if I had kids, I would probably still want to do YouTube and Twitch and stuff. Hey, Kiopsis, thank you for the Twitch Prime. I dedicate this 5-month anniversary message to my first Mac I've ever owned. Wow. He's buying a Mac for the first time. That's the power of Apple Silicon right there. Dun, 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 dun. Amazing. What do you think of this Bloomberg report that says Apple is working on a third HomePod to go between the mini and the regular? Seems kind of dumb to me. I don't think you need something in between those two. I think that you need HomePod Mini should not be HomePod Mini. It should just be the HomePod. That's what the basic HomePod should be. And if you want to keep selling the full-size HomePod, call that HomePod Pro or HomePod Max or something. That should not be the standard. And then the Mini is just the dumbed-down version. That should be the standard. And I guess I would be more okay with it if it was mobile. I kind of used to enjoy my UE Mega Boom, which was a Bluetooth speaker with a battery in it, so you could take it around with you. That would be kind of interesting. It's kind of similar to an iPhone. I know it's like we have Siri on us anyway, but just the idea of a HomePod that you could take with you if you wanted to. Probably not a great time to announce it during the pandemic, but if they want to expand on the HomePod lineup, I would be far more interested in a mobile HomePod with a battery in it instead of some type of HomePod that sits in between the original and the Mini. You don't need a speaker in the middle. That's not necessary. No, thank you. I think the HomePod Mini sound quality is good enough, and just if you want more than that, get 2 HomePod Minis, and if you want more than that, get 3 HomePod Minis. It's very scalable. 25 bits from Fables. I'm really hoping these next iPads become landscape dominant with Face ID moved over. Me too. Also, to the person who has an issue with the pros on the left ear, I also have tips on order to help them stay in my ear. I've heard AirPods 3 will be original style ear tips, but with the Pro stem design, best of both worlds. From what I've read, they don't exactly have the exact same shape of the original AirPods. They kind of look like the Pros, but without the rubber, which I'm very interested in trying because I don't really like the rubber seal that much on my ear. I prefer the universal fit that the original AirPods have, but I also like active noise cancellation. So I'm glad nowadays I'm using the AirPods Pro most of the time over the original AirPods, but my original AirPods give me software issues a lot of the time, which is annoying. I wish Apple would trade the low-end 13-inch Pro for a 16-inch Air. Oh, yeah, that would be interesting, huh? I remember people talking about that a few years back. If they made the MacBook Air in a larger size, probably wouldn't be as light. It would be harder to call it Air, but no, I agree. That would be kind of cool. 50 bits from Kiopsis. I wish it was the M1. Oh, he's not getting the Apple Silicon. It's a late 2014 Mac Mini. Replaced the hard drive with an SSD, cleaned out the dust, and repasted the CPU because why not? Installed small MAM. Well, I hope you got a good deal on it. If it's a late 2014 Mac Mini, I think I have a late 2014 Mac Mini in my closet somewhere. That might be older. That might be a 2009 Mac Mini, actually. Oh my God, I just got a great idea. We've been watching Everybody Loves Raymond all the time with my wife's old MacBook Pro from 2009 because it has a DVD player. And it's so slow, it's so old. I don't want to fix it. Don't ask me to fix it. I'm not opening that thing up. But I have that old Mac Mini in there. I should hook that up to our TV and just play DVDs off of that. Oh, I would have to find a wired mouse, though. I don't think the old Mac Minis had Bluetooth mice support, did they? Oh, man. You guys just gave me an idea. I got to try this now. That Mac Mini is just sitting in the closet, and I know it has a DVD player. So if I plug it in, that might work. I just need to find a mouse. You know what's funny? I realized recently I don't have any wired mice. The only mice I have are Magic Mice now. I have a space gray one and a silver one. I guess my wife does have a wired mouse connected to her work computer. We're not going to be watching Raymond at work, so probably just unplug it from her laptop and plug it in. Okay. This is a good idea. I got to try this. 50 bits from Kyopsis says he got it for GarageBand. Hey, there you go. Hope it works. Hopefully you got it on a discount. This is some big smart brain time. I'm excited. The 2009 Mac Mini supports Bluetooth. Well, that's the problem. I don't know what year it is. I didn't even buy it. It was just a friend of mine who had it, and he was like, here, add this to your collection. I don't want it anymore. Maybe I should go get it. I don't know what year it is. I think it's 09. It's not the aluminum enclosure. It's the Mac Mini that was like aluminum on the edges, but still glass or plastic on the top. Is that 2009? Kyopsa says he got it for 200 freedom bucks. Well, you could get yourself a better Mac if you didn't donate so much, Kyopsis. Thank you for the bits, though. Appreciate it. Let me look up real quick. I'm going to cover up the chat for a second, but let me just look. 2009 Mac Mini. Yeah, that's it. Okay, it is a 2009. It looks exactly like that. So you're saying the 2009 Mac Mini supports Bluetooth? It really doesn't look like it does. It looks too old for that. Aiden, thank you for the bits. He says hi. That was an expensive greeting. Thank you. Drew's the kind of guy who'll put out a 1-month review of his kid. No, I would not do that. Though that is hilarious. PS5 review on the channel. I would love to review the PS5, but I don't have one. And I imagine that if I don't have one now, it's going to take me a long time to get one. And by the time I do get one, no one will care what I have to say about it. And also, I don't play that many video games. My 2009 iMac supports Bluetooth. Interesting. Okay. Well, I still don't want to. My Magic Mouse is paired to my MacBook Air. I think they should add like the W1 chip style pairing to the mice, because if you want to unpair a Magic Mouse from a MacBook and pair it to another Mac, it's such an annoying process. It takes so long. Yusuf the A says, Drew, I met one of the just buy a PC guys the other day. The guy really told me that if you customize a PC right, it'll be as thin and sleek and quiet as an M1 MacBook Air. What? Well, maybe thin and sleek and quiet, but that's just a Raspberry Pi at that point. It's not going to be as fast. You can't build a PC as fast and as quiet. You can pick one or the other. It's also any PC that you want to build. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure there's some PC nerds in the chat. Any PC you want to custom build that's as fast as the M1 chip is probably going to cost more than $700, right? Because that's what the Mac Mini with the M1 chip starts at. Or can you guys envision a custom-built PC with CPU and GPU performance as fast as the M1 chip for cheaper than a Mac Mini? You will need a fan no matter what. Yeah, no way you could. Not with an x86 architecture. You can't get it that cool. How do you pair a Magic Mouse to a desktop Mac? Same way you pair it to a laptop Mac. You got to turn it off, turn it on again, make it discoverable, and then go into Bluetooth settings. Yusuf says, yes, it could be cheaper, maybe. I'd like to see someone do that. Someone should make a PC that can outperform an M1 chip and make it cheaper than a Mac Mini. I don't think it's impossible. I just think it would be tricky. 5 bits from PJ TNT11. Thank you for the hello. Didn't like, might return. Not as quiet. Yeah, definitely not as quiet, and probably won't be as small. That's for sure. You definitely can't build your own laptop. Is that a thing in the PC market? Do people custom build their own laptops? I haven't seen that before. I bet it's like very rare, but a few people have done it. Can we agree that the M1 chip is about as good as a Core i7 and GTX 1550 Ti or Core i9? No one builds their own laptops. Yeah, okay. I don't know what the performance of that chip is, but it seems like people are already disagreeing and saying, no, it's not equivalent to that. You can buy a bare bones laptop without RAM and SSD. Okay. Okay, I am Grant Hardy. Thank you for the Twitch Prime for 4 months. Have you found any good deals on the 11-inch Pro? I might consider upgrading from my Air 3 if it's like $650. I have not located any, but I have not been hunting for them. I would encourage you to hunt them because the 11-inch Pro is an amazing product. In my opinion, one of the best value, one of the best bang for your buck products you can flat out buy from Apple is the 11-inch iPad Pro from 2019 or 2020. Or sorry, 2018. There was no 2019 iPad Pro. Either one of those, like just the great specs of the A12X or the A12Z. The cameras on them are good. The biometrics solid. The design is futuristic and modern, and it's 120 hertz ProMotion. iPad OS is really, really capable now. You can do a bunch of stuff that can replace a laptop with iPad OS, and it's $800 or less if you find one on sale. Or you find a certified refurbished 11-inch Pro from 2018. You could briefly, they were available for like sub $700, in which case, or sub $600. I think a few were selling for $550. But that is just $550 for a product like that is insanely good. Like I can't think of another Apple product that would be that powerful and that capable. And it's USB-C. Which is awesome. And the speakers are great. It's my favorite Apple product. Have I mentioned that before? I love my iPad Pro. I still use it to this day. It's over 2 years old. It's still fast. It's still speedy. It's still reliable, amazing. The sound quality is great. The display looks amazing. It's just, it's hard to find another Apple product that future-proof. Like, even if you want to say something like Apple Silicon, it's like, yeah, but the hardware is still pretty dated. You're still... Even something like the M1 chip in the MacBook is like, yeah, but it's still a 720p camera. Yeah, it's still kind of dated bezels. And the Mac Mini has worse I/O than the last generation, but the iPad Pro is just like better in every way. It's so good. Like 2 years later, and it's still something I would recommend you buy today. I would still tell people to go with the 2018 iPad Pro over the 2020 iPad Pro. Some people put Raspberry Pis in laptop enclosures, but they're not exactly sleek and can't play 1080p YouTube. They can barely work, but it is technically possible. So sorry, no, Grant, I haven't found any good deals on the 11-inch Pro. I'll keep you posted. If I do, I'll let you know. If one Twitter account I would recommend a lot of people, I think they're kind of underrated. Maybe some of you have heard of them, but 9to5Mac has a account called 9to5 Toys. They're not verified, but they basically just tweet out really, really good deals on different products, or they tweet out when you're like a certain product is at an all-time low. Like this has never been cheaper, and they'll tweet out whenever they locate a good deal. So 9to5 Toys, I'd recommend. What's your typing speed? I think we did it on a live stream a couple months ago, and they clocked me at around 85 words a minute. But the iPad Pro doesn't have 5G. Exactly. That's why it's amazing. Buy the iPad Pro now before it has 5G. Once it has 5G, I'm not going to like it anymore. That's how that works, right? Well, let me just say, from experience, this is not a lie, I have turned off 5G on the last 2 iPhones I've used and gone to 4G only and gotten better speeds than 5G. So take that information as you will. Take it, do with that information whatever you want. Did you see that CoinX was suspended from Twitter? No, I didn't. Are you sure it was the real one? Let me look. CoinX. Oh, this account is temporarily restricted. Huh. I can hit view profile. So no, it's not completely. He's not been suspended. He just has a little warning because apparently it's had some suspicious activity, which is interesting. Maybe the account's being logged into from different locations that they can't verify. I don't know what that means, but the account's still up. It's not gone from what I can see. If you could combine any aspects from any phone this year, display, camera, etc., what parts would you combine to make the single worst the single worst phone ever created? Interesting. I thought you were going in a different direction there. Uh, let's see. If we took the processor from the Surface Duo, and we took the displays from the Surface Duo, and we took the camera from the Surface Duo, and we took the price from the Surface Duo and combined them, that would probably be the worst phone of the year, I think. We would call it something weird like Surface Duo. Something like that. Yeah, take the battery from the Surface Duo, take the speakers from the Surface Duo, take the software from the Surface Duo. I think that's a good combination to make the worst. I thought you were going to ask what would make the best phone, in which case I would just say take the aluminum from the 12 and put it on the 12 Pro Max, and then take ProMotion from the iPad Pro and put it on the Pro Max, and just have a 120 hertz 6.7-inch iPhone with aluminum chassis. Not even the battery from the 12 mini. No, I think the Duo's worse than the 12 mini battery. 1440p display with Snapdragon 150, no camera, no buttons, no touchscreen, and Android. It's running Android, but you can't look at the screen. Yeah, there's no display. It's just a box running Android, and there's no ports. Yusuf says, okay, so yes, you can build a PC faster than the M1 Mac Mini, but it's not as sleek, and all will be louder and hotter and only 5 times the size. Not over-exaggerated, but then again, it is a PC, so not that much of a problem. The I.O. is worse, though. The I.O. is worse than the Mac Mini? How is it worse? I thought the I.O. on the Mac Mini would be pretty bad. Interesting. So basically, it would be a giant PC box that has a really good CPU and a decent GPU. Oh, there's no USB-C? Oh, that's not even appealing. There'd only be 2 USB-A ports. Gross. Yeah, that doesn't sound better at all. Custom built is likely lacking Thunderbolt. Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed with PCs, that I.O. is very dated on them. Most cheap motherboards, at least, have pretty dated I.O. You have to spend a lot of money if you want more Thunderbolt ports and that kind of thing. I didn't realize you could have less I.O. than the current Mac Mini. That's kind of surprising. But I will admit it's kind of surprising that there is at least a CPU out there that you can get in that price point that would be faster than the M1 chip. That part's impressive. But yeah, the MacBook Air, at this point, there's no real PC alternative to a MacBook Air that would be faster and lighter and more portable, right? No, there's nothing there. It's Doomsday, and it says, I don't get why you dislike the stainless steel edges on the 12 Pro. I have graphite and feels and looks really nice. Plus, the matte gloss doesn't collect fingerprints. So you notice fingerprints on the back, but you're not noticing the fingerprints on the steel? The steel on the 12 Pro collects fingerprints like a madman. It is literally never clean. If you clean it off, it'll look ugly again after like 2 seconds of touching it. Every single fingerprint is recorded on the side here. It collects more fingerprints than an FBI agent. Was it Marquez who said that? Someone said that. Like, this is so fingerprinty, and I always have the urge to clean it, but then it's instantly dirty again. So it's like, what's the point? Compared to the aluminum of the 12 Mini, it is a mess. The stainless steel, I don't like the steel. It'd be different if the steel was a matte finish. I just prefer the look of a matte chassis, especially how little bulges, like little empty spaces, form around the power buttons. It's like all fingerprinty, and then the power buttons have these big blotches around them. Like, it's not a good look. I don't like the way it looks. I don't get why people would enjoy that. I don't know why you would prefer this over aluminum or something matte, maybe titanium or something like that. Let's see. Do you think that the idea of USB-C being the final port has become a failure since there's so many different standards? I'm shaking my head, but I'm still reading. And not all peripherals work with every single USB-C port. For example, a USB device can't work with some Thunderbolt ports, but Thunderbolt can't work with all USB ports, even though they're all the same shape. USB-C 3.0 doesn't work with all 3.1 or 4.0 devices, etc. It's more confusing than just having different ports for everything. No, Matthew, you are incorrect, and it has not failed. It is inevitable that if you choose one port shape to replace all cables, there will be certain compatibility issues with Thunderbolt 3 not being supported on every single USB-C port. That naturally will happen because you're not going to put Thunderbolt 3 on a $300 smartphone, but you want the point is you want them all to have the same cable and port. The shape is the same, and the compatibility is secondary. What's more important is that you don't have to use adapters anymore. And even if it's a charger for something like a MacBook with 30 watts, you can still plug in a smartphone and charge it instead of what you're suggesting, having separate ports. I would not be able to charge a phone from my MacBook charger because my MacBook would still be using their old-fashioned MagSafe cable. Whereas having one shape, one plug for everything, that was the goal. And in that sense, it has not failed. The goal wasn't to have the exact same port with the exact same standards on every single device. The point was to have the same shape across everything so that there wouldn't be I want this device to communicate with this device, but because I don't have an adapter and because the ports are different sizes, I can't connect them. The point is now you can connect them, and sure, it might not be full speed. It might not be full Thunderbolt 3, or it might not be full data transfer speeds, but they can at least connect and communicate each other. Let's see. Yeah. The goal was the same shape and mostly same cables for charging. There's also worse Bluetooth and Wi-Fi in a PC for that price, and the ports and stuff are slower, but also I didn't include Windows in the price. If you do, it's going to be more expensive. Ha! There you go. So it is more expensive. If I plug in the HDMI cable into an HDMI port, I know it will work. If I plug a Thunderbolt cable into a USB port, it's not guaranteed that it will always work. Well, it will work to a certain extent. It just won't be at the full capacity. So it's better than if they weren't the same port. The point is you would rather have the port in the cable be compatible, just the computer on the other end not be compatible, than you would have the computer be capable but not have the cable. Not all HDMI ports and cables are equal. That's true. But yeah, my point is, if you move everything towards one USB-C standard, then the compatibility on the software and the compatibility on the computer's end can update in time as well. My point is, it's much easier to have USB-C on everything and just have some of them be Thunderbolt 3 and some of them not be Thunderbolt 3 than it is to not adopt a charging standard and have different shapes and different ports for everything. That's worse, because then you have to ask yourself, well, which cable do I have to buy? Which cables do I have to bring? Which cables do I have? Instead, you can just have one cable that does everything. It's not more confusing. I think you're confused by it because you know that there's such a thing as Thunderbolt ports. Average consumer doesn't know what that crap is. They just know this cable fits in here and now my phone is charging. And that's how it works. Actually, it would be. I can't think of a situation where if you bought a MacBook Air and you had a monitor with a USB-C port and you plugged the cable that the monitor came with into it with USB-C, it would work. Let's see. As much as we get angry at these large corporations and as much dirty work as they do, I'm thankful for YouTube giving the internet this free video platform, and we take for granted so often. I too, Liam, I'm very, very thankful. I'm very grateful for YouTube. I don't think it's going to last forever, but I'll enjoy it as long as I possibly can. And I'm thankful for you guys too. Okay, Yusuf's updating us on the custom build here. Again, I don't know if the M1 is as fast as Ryzen 5 and Core i5 or Ryzen 7, Core i7, or a Core i9, so I don't know how I should build the PC. I can for sure say that you can get better graphics for cheaper and more storage plus RAM. It's just the CPU part I'm confused about. Right. Yeah, I guess it would just look at Geekbench results maybe for a comparison, but I guess it depends on what you're doing and what you're running. But obviously, there's a overlap there with There's not much of an overlap there of like, what are you buying it for? Are you buying it for gaming? Or are you buying it for video editing? Then obviously you know what platform is going to be, um, better. But ultimately, the main goal is to have one port that can charge and transfer data across everything. And in my experience, that's pretty much been the case. I've used USB-C cables that came with hard drives and transferred data between phones and computers with them, which you wouldn't be able to do if you were like, no, I hate the process of look for the USB-A, you look for the micro USB, and the other issue is USB-C is not worse because it is objectively better than USB-A, which in my opinion is one of the worst design ports of all time. It's symmetrical but not reversible, which is why there's so many memes about it. You know, people trying to plug in the USB port and then it doesn't work, so they have to look at it, and then they have to flip it the other way to get it to work, and then they have to flip it back to get it to work. That is one of the dumbest designs ever, and the sooner we can phase that out, the poorly designed USB-A port, the better. USB-C is smaller. It can fit on phones. It can fit on laptops. It can fit high wattage. It can do low wattage. It can do data transfer. It can do high data transfer. It can do video. Having what it initially stood for, Universal Serial Bus, was to try to have one port for everything. And USB-C is doing a much better job at that. Back then it was revolutionary. It's still poorly designed though. I would much rather, I agree with PJ. I would rather have not symmetrical and not reversible than symmetrical and not reversible. Completely agree. Because with HDMI, at least most of the time, you can see, with HDMI, there's only one way to plug it in. I have to hold the cable this way. That's how it goes in. With USB-A, you kind of have to eyeball it a lot of the time. You're like, I think I plug it in this way, but I got to try it first. And then if it doesn't work, I got to try it the other way. Type-C can only do 100 watts. That's plenty. You can power an entire 16-inch MacBook Pro with 100 watts. And that has the largest battery you can legally take on a plane. So I don't know why you would ever want to do more than 100 watts. I think that's plenty for what we're using USB-C for. Type-C is a form of USB, so they are accomplishing their goal. Yeah, it just took them too long. I feel like USB-A was kept around for still... There's still consoles and computers shipping with USB-A, even in Apple's lineup, that I'm like, come on, let's move off this thing. Come on. The more we keep it on hardware, the longer it gets supported and the longer we keep wasting time trying to plug stuff in. No one uses gaming laptops anyway. Don't worry about them. Okay. Yusuf's going to wrap us up here. Let's see. From my very hard research, Googling Geekbench scores, the M1 is considerably better than a Core i9 Ryzen 9 in single core, but a bit worse than a Core i9 in multi-core, and considerably worse multi-score than a Ryzen 9. Gotcha. That makes sense. Let's see. Did we not have innovative geniuses in the 90s whom thought, like, hey, maybe USB should be reversible? Whether it could be reversible is up for debate. Like, maybe that tech wasn't ready then, but you could have easily made it non-symmetrical, which would have made it easier. If it was very visibly obvious you only had one way of plugging it in, like you do with HDMI, you wouldn't have the frustration that we have today of USB-A having to try it in both ways. There should never be a port there should never be a cable or a port that is symmetrical but not reversible. That's ridiculous. It would be like saying the headphone jack only works when plugged in a certain way. Like, that's just stupid. It should work. If it's going to be symmetrical, it should go in the other way, which USB-C is, which I'm grateful for. Anyway, I got to wrap up here, but thank you all for your Twitch Primes, your bits, your subscriptions, all of which I hope you guys know are completely unnecessary, but I'm thankful for all of you, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care, y'all. Have a good one. Bye-bye.